conference on agricultural transformation and rural development in India, issues, challenges, and way forward. Prayer is hope. It is the dawn of life. It sows the seeds of happiness. Those who challenge the future with prayer are sure to see continual improvement in their lives. I now request Ms. Akshita to start this program with an invocation song.
Siddhi buddhi aureya, bhakta jnana priya. Siddhi buddhi aureya, bhakta jnana priya. Shuddha bhavadamina, bhaji sweno gajnana. Shuddha bhavadamina, bhaji sweno gajnana. Siddhi buddhi aureya, bhakta jnana priya. Rudra jatane karnamika, Rudra jatane karnamika. Siddhi buddhi aureya, bhakta jnana priya. Shuddha bhavadamina, bhaji sweno gajnana. Siddhi buddhi aureya, Siddhi buddhi aureya, Siddhi buddhi aureya.
Thank you, Mr. Akshita. I now request Dr. Madhusudan, Mr. Siddharaju, and Mr. Prasad to sing Raita Giti. Thank you, Dr. Madhusudananti. I request Dr. Sitaraju Viji, Associate Professor and Director, CSSEIT, University of Mysore, to welcome the gathering.
Hello, Namaskara. Very good morning to all of you, respected Honorable Vice Chancellor and Chief Guest, invited guests, paper presenters, and faculty members from our university and university officers, students, and research scholars. It's my privilege to stand before you to give introductory remarks and welcome all of you. As you know, the basic concern of the people in rural area is survival. Many of them are bypassed by whatever economic progress has been achieved. More than 800 billion of these people don't have enough food to meet their nutritional needs. If development is take place and become self-sustaining, it will have to start in the rural areas in general and the agriculture sector in particular. In the process of development, the agriculture sector and rural economy must play a key role in any strategy of economic progress. In this context, the present conference attempts to highlight the agriculture transformation in rural India and will focus on understanding its dimensions and structure and the various challenges it generates for rural development, and also attempt to discuss the possibilities that could be generated through holding agriculture transformation in fruitful manner, so that it could act as a catalyst for poverty eradication and overall rural development. In this connection, on the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav, today our center and in collaboration with the Department of Anthropology, University of Mysore, is organizing today National Conference on Agriculture Transformation and Rural Development in India, Issues and Challenges and way forward, sponsored by Indian Council of Social Science Research. Friends, let's now welcome our guest in the conference with brief introduction. Firstly, Professor M. Muzaffar Asadi sir. Professor Muzaffar Asadi sir does not need any introduction as he is noted writer and the thinker. The Professor Asadi sir is currently serving as a in-charge Vice Chancellor of Mysore University and Professor of Political Science, University of Mysore. Professor Asadi sir has served as a Special Officer of Raichur University. Professor Asadi sir was a founding director of Center for Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy, University of Mysore during 2008 to 2010. He did his PhD at JNU and he was a postdoctoral fellow at University of Chicago, USA. He has completed 4 research projects. He has published over 320 articles in national and international journals and 28 books published by national and international publisher. He has given more than 400 special lectures across the country and he has guided 21 PhD and 13 MPhil students. He was a chairman committee on displacement of and rehabilitation of tribals constituted by Honorable High Court, Government of Karnataka. He was the chairman research committee, Indian Academy of Social Science in 2011. When we approached him to inaugurate and preside for this inaugural function, he voluntarily accepted our invitation and now is with us on behalf of the Center and Department of Anthropology and all of you. I extend a warm welcome to Professor Asadi sir. I request to Nandina to offer you a presentation. Kindly, Krishnaraj sir. Professor Krishnaraj sir is a professor at Center for Economic Studies and Policy, Institute for Social and Economic Change, Bengaluru. He obtained PhD in Economics from University of Mysore. He was a faculty at Plum University, Shimoga. He served as Indian Council for Cultural Relations Chair Professor on Indian Economy under the Minister of External Affairs, Government of India at Hong Kong University of Foreign Studies, South Korea. He was a visiting scholar at University of Wisconsin, USA. He is awarded with Sir Ratan Tata Trust Research Fellowship Collaborative Research with University of Wisconsin, USA. Professor Krishnaraj sir on socio-economic analysis of Bangalore-Mysore Infrastructure Corridor Project received highly appreciation by the House of Committee on BMICP and the Karnataka Legislative Assembly. He has submitted many reports to the Government of Karnataka which have socio-economic policy implications, that is, report on socio-economic analysis of Bangalore-Mysore Infrastructure Corridor Project, unaccounted for water in Bangalore, State of Environment Report for Bangalore and Karnataka, Nava Karnataka Vision Document 2025, Reservation in Promotion, and Report on Issues of Karnataka State Open University. Currently, he is the consultant of National Economics for Asian Development Bank, Philippines, to undertaking research on river basin planning in Karnataka. Currently, he is the Vice Chairman of Academic Program Committee of ISAC. He is the member of several expert committees, which include National Green Tribunal, Government of India, Karnataka State Water Conservation Authority, Government of Karnataka, Scientific Auditing of Karnataka Residential Education Institution, Government of Karnataka, Karnataka State Ecological Monitoring Committee as special invitee, Central and State Pollution Control Board, and also expert training on environmental damage and environmental compensation. He has completed 11 research projects and 13 ongoing research projects. He has published more than 80 research papers published in the national international journals, and 5 books published by national international publisher. He served as a panel expert in a live television program on contemporary economic and environmental issues in Doordarshana, All India Radio, and many private TV channels. He was invited as an expert for documentary film on climate change, Red Dot Nation, produced by the Dark Horse Pictures, Mumbai. He has successfully guided 9 PhD students who have worked on diverse and contemporary research topics. When we approached him to deliver the keynote address for this conference, he wholeheartedly accepted our invitation and he is with us on behalf of the Center and Department of Anthropology. And all of you, I extend a warm welcome to Professor Krishna Raj sir. I request Dr. Gurera to offering a bouquet to Krishna Raj. Srimati Sailata Madam. Srimati Sailata, a senior case officer, is currently serving as a registrar, University of Mysore. She has graduated from University of Mysore. She has achieved first rank in B.Ed and MA and second rank in BA. As a witness to her academic dedication and success, she has amassed a record of 14 gold medals and 10 cash awards when she was a student of Mysore University. She joined the Karnataka Administrative Service in 2006 as a Tahsidar for the government of Karnataka. Till date, she has worked in several capacities for the Karnataka government ministries at various levels. Also, she served as an additional DC for Mandya district from 2020 to 2022. She has a long history of commitment, promptness, and excellence in the career. When we approached her to be the chief guest for this inaugural function, she readily accepted our invitation and she is with us on behalf of the Center and Department of Anthropology and all of you. I extend a warm welcome to Shailaja Madam. I request to Akshay to offering the bouquet to Shailaja Madam. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. M.R. Gangadhar, Professor and Chairman, Department of Anthropology, University of Mysore, who has been providing all kinds of guidance and support since the beginning of this planning of this conference. Thank you and welcome you, sir. I request to Dr. Jayprabha to offering a bouquet to Dr. Gangadhar, sir. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Chandrasekhar, Dean, my teacher Chandrakota sir, Jagdish sir, Sannapasa Rajkumar sir, Professor Komala madam, welcome you madam. Also, I take this opportunity to welcome all the resource persons who have come from across the country, university officers, syndicate members, all the teaching faculties, research scholars, students from various departments of our university, finally, media persons. Once again, I welcome all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will in the end contribute most to real wealth, good morals and happiness. To make this event auspicious, let us inaugurate this conference by watering the plant. I invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Musafar Achazadi, Professor Kushraj, Srimati V. Shailaja, and all the dignitaries from the dais to water the plants.
Yes, sir, yes.
Thank you, all the dignitaries. I am now requesting that the book be released by Srimati V. Shailaja, Registrar, University of Mysore, Mysore. Thank you, all the dignitaries. It is my pleasure to invite Professor Muzaffar H. Azad, Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Mysore, Mysuru, for the inaugural speech.
Guests on the dais and off the dais. Good morning to everybody. Let me begin with the 1950s or the 1960s phenomenon. Beginning with the argument of Daniel Torner. I don't know whether you have heard any Daniel Torner. Daniel Torner was an American, agrarian economist, was closely associated with the Planning Commission and also the large number of institutions in India, including the EPW. He brought out 3 books on Indian agriculture. Why I'm trying to bring his name here is that he was the one who started a debate on Indian agriculture, particularly in 1950s and subsequently 1960s. Probably you might be knowing about the debate of 1960s, where we had something on mode of production debate. I'll come back to that one. 1950s and 1960 particularly, when India went on to introduce what's called the Green Revolution, or the new technology, for increasing what is called the food production, because we were suffering from the food deficit. And also the percentage of people living below the poverty line was much more. So to overcome that one, Indian government received the help of the United States, which is under particularly PL 480 program, and introduced what is called the Green Revolution, or it's also called as the high-yielding varieties. It was this time, and it was coinciding with the land reforms. Let me get back to that one a little later. Why land reforms necessitated the Indian government to push its agenda, why it became a most important thing, and what are the impediments that the government faced, why the agrarian structure is uneven today also. Probably we need to go back to that history. 1960s, when the Green Revolution was introduced in India, particularly Punjab and Haryana regions, where the canal water was available, where the class of peasantry, called as the rich peasantry, which was also called as the kulaks, where they had emerged in the agriculture. A kulak was a kind of absentee landlord category. In fact, it was during this time that Daniel Torner tried to understand what's happening in the agriculture sector. Was agriculture sector was transforming into commercial or the capitalist, or was it compromising with the pre-capitalist agrarian relations? It was this time that he divided the categories, the peasant categories, the farming community, into 3 categories, out of which 2 are most important. One is the Malik. Malik as the landlord. Malik was none other than the kulaks. In the Russian variety, it is also called the kulaks. The second was the Mazdoor. The Mazdoor was nothing but the agricultural class. Malik was seen as a kind of gentleman farmers. In fact, later they were all called as the gentleman farmer. A gentleman farmer was one who would supervise, who would live in urban area, occasionally would come down to the villages and supervise the agriculture development, collect the agriculture produce, not the rent. Remember, rent was collected with the zemindars. These gentleman farmers would collect the what's called the agriculture produce and market it to the market, the whole production, then he'll go back to his native place. So he's called as the gentleman farmer. The gentleman farmer was a word coined by Daniel Turner. That is the first time. It was this time, at the same time, you had a big debate taking place in Indian agriculture, 1960s, with a publication article on mode of production in agriculture. Gail Orbit was one of the scholars involved in that one. G.S. Bella was involved. Usha Patna probably might be knowing about. One of the leading economists was involved in that debate. J.S. Banerjee was involved. And there were others. They were all involved in that one. The whole debate was that whether Indian agriculture was transforming. Like, for example, whether it is transforming towards the agrarian capitalism, or agrarian capitalism was injected into these agriculture, and what kind of differentiation that the agriculture sector was seeing or witnessing. Because that time that the Usha Patna introduced what is called the labor exploitation criteria. Understand in your class position of a peasantry, she used a methodology called the labor exploitation criteria. Anybody who has got capacity to exploit the labor, particular peasant labor, then you would be treated as the upper class or the rich peasantry. If not, you might be treated as the middle class. They began entering into this debate about whether there exists a rich peasantry, whether that rich peasantry is a reactionary rich peasantry or whether the progressive rich peasantry. How to coin the term called the middle peasantry, and how to look at the poor peasantry, whether the poor peasantry is almost equivalent to the agricultural labor class. So at the same time, there is another debate. The debate is that whether two or three modes of production, coexist. Like, for example, in the midst of the agrarian capitalism or capitalist tendency in agriculture, would you like to see this other tendency like the pre-capitalist, that to the feudalism? Can feudalism and the agrarian capitalism coexist together? It was so difficult to understand. One side you have got the, when they were talking about the feudalism, which obviously means that they are referring to the way what's called the land reforms in Indian context. I'll come back to that one. The second was that is there something called the semi-feudalism in agriculture. What do you mean by semi-feudalism? It's a typical case of a middle class. A man who can be a capitalist, at the same time he can be a feudal. Like us, we are all middle class. We are more progressive outside, but at the same time we are conservative at home. So it's a combination of two modes: feudalism, semi-feudalism, and capitalism. Which would be dominating? The second question was that which would be dominating, or which is being dominating in agriculture. The third important thing was that when the whole debate was that whether the agriculture sector was undergoing crisis. Knowing very well that 1960s was the period of food, surplus food. But did it solve the problem of the agriculture sector? Did it solve the problem of the everyday life practices like the poverty, food scarcity, uneveness, all these things? The one argument was that India was either entering into the semi-feudalism, and at the same time, you have got the feudal, capitalism becoming dominant. Meanwhile, the argument was also that the agriculture sector was also witnessing severe crisis from within, which was reflected in the 1970s, which was reflected now in the pharmaceutical side also, whatever it was. See, the whole argument about the agricultural transformation taking place. In this context, one question quite often arises: what is the role that the land reforms brought in this particular transformation? Even though you might say that, say, the state funded this cooperative system, state came out with the argument of the remunerative prices or sundry prices to the agriculture sector. What exactly was the role of the land reforms? Did land reforms affected the agrarian transformation in India? In fact, land was not a central issue, it was a state issue. Like, at the same time, there were three phases in the land reforms. See, land reforms was affected or introduced in Indian context for a political reason. Even though there are two other reasons also. Because during the nationalist movement, these big landlords were with the Britishers. They were the part of the British imperialism. They supported. For example, in 1857, I'm referring to what Stokes argues. 1857, big landlords would have been, where with the Britishers. There was let me get you a story about the conversion that took place. One member of a family would be with the Vidrohis, the other would be with the Britishers. In the event the Vidrohis becomes victorious, they'll retain the property. In the event the Britishers become victorious, they'll also retain the property. So for retaining the property, either they join with the Vidrohi group or with the British groups. So in fact, Stokes argues that 1851 was basically to protect the property of the big zamindars rather than to bring the independence. I'm not entering into that debate again because it's a very, very controversial argument of the Stokes. But largely, if you read, many books, you would come to know that these people were with the British. That's the reason why the Congress in 1936 introduced this, passed this resolution, I think the Lahore or somewhere, that we should go for the land reforms. And that's the reason why, this is a kind of anti-zamindari notion of the Congress made them to introduce the land reforms. But paradoxically, land reforms was not introduced at a go. It was systematically introduced, phase-wise introduced, beginning with the Zamindari Abolition Act of 1960s or 1950s, then the Tenancy Act, then followed by the Land to the Tiller. It was not applied uniformly anyway. In many places, these land reforms were literally defeated. Lands, in the case of, you had a wonderful land reforms act, like for example in Bihar. Bihar had a very wonderful land reforms act. But paradoxically, even Rajasthan was a feudal state. In the midst of the wonderful land reforms act, it was all defeated. Lands were transformed in the Benami names. Sometimes it is said that the lands were, registered in the name of the cows and the dogs, domestic animals. And that's the reason why, if you look at the one side, you have the agrarian transformation taking place because they thought that land reform should be backed by the agrarian transformation. You need to introduce the capitalism. You need to inject capital into the agriculture. But on the other hand, you try to defeat the very land reforms. What happened in the whole process? You have got the uneven development again. There are times when the landlords, when the agrarian sector saw the emergence of the new categories. Like for example, in the case of the Punjab and other places, you have this called the rich peasantry emerging, or the middle peasantry emerging. In places like the Bihar and other places, you have the thick feudalism still remaining. So you had a very, very contradictory development taking place. So in the midst of this contradictory development, quite opposing development, it was quite obvious that the agrarian sector would witness the large-scale crisis, which was articulated in 1970s by Charan Singh and others, which was later on again articulated by the Sharad Joshi and others. The farmer suicide is a reflection of the same crisis. I would not say that it is only the result of the globalization. You know that the whole debate, Suri and others have been arguing that, even Vandana Shiva arguing that farmer society is the reflection of the growing agrarian crisis after the introduction of the liberalization, which is partly true. I would say that farmer society was the extension of the agrarian crisis, which started post 1960s, which was reflected firstly in Punjab. 1960s, or I would say that 1980s itself, Punjab was one of the economy which witnessed two tendencies. One is the deep agrarian crisis, the second was the separatist movement. Both went together. And you know that agrarian crisis was reflected in the one farmer society. The second was reflected in the selling of their kidneys to overcome the present crisis and the agrarian crisis. The whole question is that did liberalization, even though there was a paradigm shift, paradoxically, we never had a comprehensive agricultural policy up till 1998. Thanks to Devegowda in Karnataka. Otherwise, we would not have had a comprehensive agriculture policy. But paradoxically, that policy came in the context of globalization. So that would have allowed the growth of what's called the absentee landlord in the agrarian sector, because it would allow the big companies to enter into the rural economy. It would have create the regime called the intellectual property rights regime and other things. So the 1990s, even though it's witnessed the growth of the liberalization, and it definitely had the effect on the agriculture sector. Look at the growth of the other sector at the cost of the agriculture. One is that the agriculture was linked to the international market, and the market became volatile. That led to the killing of large number of farmers. So one effect. The second important effect is that farmers start losing their lands in the name of the special economic zones and other urban development regions. That's reason every month, probably 4 to 5 villages are merged with the metropolitan cities like the Bangalore. So these villages disappear completely from the map of the geographical map of the Karnataka. It is not the case only of the Bangalore. Every metropolitan city saw the absorption of the villages into the urban area, metropolitan cities, because villages became the victims of the development. Agrarian sector became the victim of development. You go to the Noida in nearby Delhi. Noida was a village, not Noida, Gurgaon. Noida was a typical village when we were students. Today, you can't enter into Noida. It is a hub of criminal activities. It is a hub of the big companies. The whole scale of the villages has completely gone. The identity of the villages have completely disappeared. So, agrarian sector today, I believe that it's in deep crisis. The farming community, despite the fact that the sectors have been told that you are being given the scientific prizes, community prizes, and other things, but there is no tendency, neither there is a will to declare agriculture as an industry. If we declare an agriculture as an industry, probably agriculture sector would have been saved. The second important, the state tax sector is not coming forward at the time of the crisis. For example, like the huge amount accumulated with regard to the debt. See, when the industrial sector, I think that's what Lipson talks about the urban bias policies in the agriculture sector. There's a policy bias against the agrarian sector. Lipton argued that. So our policies are basically for the metropolitan cities rather than the agriculture sector. So that's the reason why agriculture sector is suffering more than the industrial sector. So in the event of agriculture sector, in the third generation, if you look at the way the agriculture sector is, eliminated or completely vanished from the scene, is the fact that successive generation would see the subdivision of the agriculture land, and that is the end of the agriculture sector. That's the reason why nobody refers to stay back in agriculture sector, because it doesn't provide the required jobs. The second is that it doesn't provide the required, food. It is not providing a permanent job as well. So that's the reason why people will start moving out, migrating to the urban area. So what Gandhi talked about, the rural area is the little republics, has gone now. I think that agrarian sector is again and again undergoing crisis, which is a major problem that we are facing it now. So agrarian transformation has taken place. I'm not denying it, but it also led to the deep internal crisis, which has not been able to be solved by the state or the government concerned. No, we are not trying to come up with the what's called the comprehensive issues or comprehensive policies to address the agriculture issues. Even though we have this, agriculture policy 98 in Karnataka, 92 in Delhi, but they are not being able to solve the problem, because these policies were basically trying to solve the, trying to help out the big industrial sector. I think we need to, deal on the issues of how agrarian crisis can be overcome in recent years, how the farmer suicide may be reduced in Indian context, how the Indian agriculture can protect itself vis-a-vis the loss of the traditional knowledge and also the seed technology, and lastly, how agrarian sector can compete with the global capital. I think these are the 4 important issues that I would like to raise here. Thank you very much.
Sir. I request Professor Gadadhar Emma to felicitate our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Thank you, sir. I request our chief guest, Srimati V.R. Shailaja, Registrar, University of Mysore, Mysuru, to address the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಕನ್ನಡ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಅಭ್ಯಂತರ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೂಡ ಭಾವನೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಆಯ್ತು, ಮಲ್ಟಿ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಬಳಸೋಣ. ನೋ ಇಶ್ಯೂ. ಐ ಸ್ಪೀಕ್ ಬೋತ್ ಇನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್. ಓಕೆ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತರಿರುವಂತಹ ಹಾಗೂ ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ವಿಚಾರ ಮಂಡನೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಕೀನೋಟ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿ ತಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರ ಅನುಭವಿ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಅವರು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಸಂಶೋಧನಾತ್ಮಕವಾಗಿ ಕಂಡುಕೊಂಡಂತಹ ಅನೇಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರಗಳಿಗೆ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನು ರೂಪಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಹಿರಿಯರು ಆದಂತಹ ಹಾಗೂ ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಕುಲಪತಿಗಳು ಆದಂತಹ ಮಾನ್ಯ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಮುಜಫರ್ ಅಸಾದಿ ಸರ್ ಅವರ ಭಾಷಣವನ್ನ ಮೊದಲ ಬಾರಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನಕಾರಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಕಾರಣ ಇಷ್ಟೇ, ಅವರು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾವು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಈಗ ತಾನೇ 3 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನ Transformation in India Issues, Challenges and Possibilities, edited by Dr. Siddharaju VG. And second book was Status of Agrarian Sector in India, Impediments, Causes, Consequences and the Way Forward, edited by Dr. Siddharaju. Then the other one was Agriculture and Rural Development, Contemporary Issues and Prospects, edited by Dr. Siddharaju and Dr. Gangadhar. ಸೊ 3 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾನು ಕಣ್ಣಾಡಿಸಿದೆ. ಸಿನಾಪ್ಸಿಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಡೆಕ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಸ್ಕಾಲರ್ಸ್ ತಾವಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಕೀನೋಟ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾನ್ಯ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಹಾಜರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನಾ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾತಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ನೀವೇನು ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸ್ತೀರಾ, ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಗೊಳಿಸುವಂತಹ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಬ್ಯೂರೋಕ್ರಾಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸರ್ಕಾರಗಳು ಕಾನೂನನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸ್ತವೆ, ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನ ನೀವು ರೂಪಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಅನೇಕ ಹಿರಿಯ ಮುತ್ಸದಿಗಳು, ವಿಚಾರವಾದಿಗಳು, ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ಸ್, you shape through your projects. For example, I read about PM Kisan. You know, it was implemented in the year 2018-19. I was a subdivisional magistrate and assistant commissioner, just around 15 kilometers from here. It was Pandavpura subdivision, one of the subdivision, administrative subdivision in Mandya district. And as you know, Mandya is totally irrigated by River Kaveri. Projects which are there, one being our heritage monument, which is KRS. And you know, since we, the revenue administrators, we handle our land records management, and our key document is our Pahani. RTC. Hope you understand what is RTC. It has got 16 columns wherein the ownership of presumptive, it's a presumptive document wherein ownership is, entitlement is given, and for which the right flows from the deed. So these RTCs are, hope you can going to tell you. Tehsil is a basic unit of revenue administration. So each taluk might have had 1 lakh records, that is RTCs or Pahani, what we call. So, but I was surprised when I saw the entire district of Mandya was having more than 17 lakh RTCs. That is the level of fragmentation what we had to approach to implement this PM Kisan. So PM Kisan ಯೋಜನೆಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ we had a set of guidelines wherein each RTC has to be traced and each person's Aadhaar number has to be collected, and we had gone to each household. ಅವ್ರು ಹೋಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ಪೆಟ್ಟಿಗೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಗ್ಸಿ ರೈತನ RTC ತಗೊಂಡು ಅವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, as a subdivisional magistrate, as tahsildars, as agricultural officers, different level, as village accountants, as gram sahayaks, we have implemented this program, and you are writing about its financial implication in present contemporary agrarian society. So ಹೀಗೆ 17 ಲಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೂ ಮೀರಿದ ಪಹಣಿಗಳನ್ನ ಒಟ್ಟುಗೂಡಿಸಿ PM ಕಿಸಾನ್ಗೆ ತರೋಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ we could achieve around the 50% of success. Out of 17 lakh RTC, ಸುಮಾರು 7 ರಿಂದ 8 ಲಕ್ಷಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು PM ಕಿಸಾನ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ತಂದ್ವಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ರೈತನಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಪಹಣಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇರಲ್ಲ, ಆತನಿಗೆ ಆ ಗ್ರಾಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನೇಕ ಪಹಣಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಜಮೀನನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಗ್ರಾಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಜಮೀನನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತಾನೆ. ಒಂದೇ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ತಾಲೂಕುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಜಮೀನನ್ನ ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸೊ ಈ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತು ಸರ್ ಮಾತಾಡುವಾಗ ಕೇಳುದು, ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನ ರೂಪಿಸುವಾಗ ನೀವು ಕೊಡುವಂತಹ ಬೌದ್ಧಿಕ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಸ್ ಅಡ್ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟರ್ಸ್, ಆಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ಸ್ ನಾವಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡೋದೇ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರ. 6,000 ಪ್ಲಸ್ 4,000 ಮ್ಯಾಚಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರಾಂಟ್ ಏನು ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಮತ್ತು ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಇತ್ತು. 10,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗಳು ಅವರಿಗೇನು ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಅವರ ಖಾತೆಗೆ ನೇರ ನಗದು ವರ್ಗಾವಣೆ ಮೂಲಕ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಬಹಳ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಂದಿದೆ, ಬಹಳ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ತಂದಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗ್ರಾಮಾಂತರ ಪ್ರದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದು ಮೋದಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಸಿ ಹೌ monetary benefit gets into the level of a villager, to an household, to the level of a farmer. So I just reiterated, means reproduced what a common man speaks at a village level. Bodagella, that was the term. Nobody spoke about PM Kisan. As such, you have coined it, right? So now Bodagella ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದು ಮಾನ್ಯ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳ ಹೆಸರು ಹಿಡಿದು ದುಡ್ಡು ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಮಗೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ತಹಸೀಲ್ದಾರ್ ಲಾಗಿನ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಬಂದು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಡೆಪ್ಟಿ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ಸ್ ಲಾಗಿನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಜಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಲಾಗಿನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ರಿಸಾಲ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ವಿ ಬೋತ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಅಗ್ರೇರಿಯನ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ. ಸೊ ಒನ್ ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಸಾ ಮನ್ನೇರೇಗಾ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ. ನಾನು ಪಂಚಾಯತ್ ರಾಜ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಆದ್ರೂ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಗ್ರಾಮ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ, ತಾಲೂಕು ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ, ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮುದಾಯಗಳ ಜೊತೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮನ್ನೇರೇಗಾ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇದೆ. ಮನ್ನೇರೇಗಾ ಇದು ಉದ್ಯೋಗಗಳ ಕಾಯಂಗೊಳಿಸುವಿಕೆ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಜನರಿಗೆ ದುಡಿಮೆಯನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಆಕ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಅದರ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟಾಗಿದೆ. ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಮುದಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸಮುದಾಯದ ಅಸೆಟ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಥಳೀಯ ಗ್ರಾಮ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ, ಗ್ರಾಮ ಸಮುದಾಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ತಂದಿದೆ. ಅನೇಕ ಜನರು ಇದನ್ನ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ತಾವುಗಳು ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಕೇಸ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಒಂದು ತಾಲೂಕು, ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಾಮ ತಗೊಂಡು ಈ ಒಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನ ಹೊರತಂದಿರುವುದು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು ಯಾವ ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳಾಗಿ ರೂಪಿತಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತವೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತಾವು ಒಂದು ಬಹಳ ವಿಶದವಾಗಿ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಬಹಳ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಸರ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ತಂದಂತಹ ಸಮಯ, ಜಮೀನ್ದಾರಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿಯನ್ನ ನಿರ್ಮೂಲನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು, ಉಳುವವನೇ ಭೂಮಿಯ ಒಡೆಯ, ಟೆನೆನ್ಸಿ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಂದಿದ್ದು. ಈ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಆಸ್ ಎ ತಹಸೀಲ್ದಾರ್ for more than 8 years, as sub-divisional magistrate for about 6 years. I have worked in different capacities. So ಇದರ ಅನುಷ್ಠಾನ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾನೊಂದು ಕೃಷಿಕನ ಮಗಳಾಗಿ ಬಲ್ಲೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರಾಮಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ, when you go to our villages, there will be at least 20 quintals of land holding in each riot's name. When you go to our villages, we have seen that implementation of land reforms at basic level. ಅದೇ ನನ್ನ ಸಹಪಾಠಿಗಳು, ಗೆಳತಿಯರು ಆಂಧ್ರ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ತಮಿಳುನಾಡಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವರು IAS ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಬೇರೆ ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಮಾತನಾಡುವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಏನ್ ಶೈಲಜಾ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಊರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಹತ್ರ RTC ಇದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಪೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇದೆ, it's a piece of livelihood for your common folk here. ಬಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಊರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ, ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಗ್ರಾಮ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡದಂತಹ ಲಕ್ಷಣಗಳು ಇಷ್ಟು ಅಮೂಲಾಗ್ರವಾಗಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಆದಂತಹ ಭೂ ಸುಧಾರಣೆ ಕಾಯ್ದೆ, ಉಳುವವನೇ ಭೂಮಿಯ ಒಡೆಯ, ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಕೃಷಿ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ತಂದಿದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳಾದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಮಾತು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಕೊಡೋರು ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ. ನಾನು ಮಂಡ್ಯದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಸುಮಾರು 5 ವರ್ಷ ಕಾಲ ಸತತವಾಗಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಹುದ್ದೆನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನಿದ್ದೆ. ಆಸ್ ಸಬ್ ಡಿವಿಷನಲ್ ಅಸಿಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್, ಆಸ್ ಅಡಿಷನಲ್ ಡೆಪ್ಟಿ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್, ಆಸ್ ತಹಸೀಲ್ದಾರ್ I worked there, as national highway land acquisition officer and the competent authority I worked there. In different capacities I have worked in Mandya. ಮೂಲತಃ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಬೆಂಗಾಡು, ಯಾವುದೇ ನೀರಾವರಿ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂದಿನ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ಸರ್ ಎಂ ವಿಶ್ವೇಶ್ವರಯ್ಯನವರು, ಅಂದಿನ ನಾಲ್ವಡಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣರಾಜ ಒಡೆಯರು, ದೇ ವೇರ್ ವಿಷನರೀಸ್. ಇವತ್ತು ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಇಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಇನ್ಫ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಕೂತು ನಾವು ಕಲಿತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಅವರ ಕೊಡುಗೆಗಳು. ಅವರು ಮಾಡಿದಂತಹ KRS ಡ್ಯಾಮ್, KRS ಗೂ ಮುಂಚೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ ಕಟ್ಟೆಪುರ ಸರ್. ಕಟ್ಟೆಪುರ ಇರೋದು ಅರ್ಕಲ್ಗೂಡು ತಾಲೂಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ತಹಸೀಲ್ದಾರ್ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಸಿಮ್ಯುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಮೊದಲ ಕಟ್ಟೆ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ನಾಲ್ವಡಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣರಾಜ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ, ಬಹಳ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಅದು ಇವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಕಟ್ಟೆಪುರ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ನೀರಾವರಿಗೆ ಬಂದಂತಹ ಮೂಲ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಂಗಾರದೊಡ್ಡಿ ನಾಲೆ ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ, ರಂಗನತಿಟ್ಟು ಇವತ್ತೇನು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಆಗಿದೆ ಪಕ್ಷಿಧಾಮ, ಅದು ಬಹಳ ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಆದಂತಹ ಪಕ್ಷಿಧಾಮ ಅಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ರೆಫರಿಂಗ್ bird sanctuary just near our Mysore, which is in Srirangpatna taluk, which is known as Ranganthittu. It's not a naturally formed bird sanctuary. This was a man-made interruption to river. So ಯಾವಾಗ ಬಂಗಾರದೊಡ್ಡಿ ನಾಲೆಯನ್ನ ಕಟ್ಟಿ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಬ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕಟ್ತಾರೆ 1638ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಬಂಗಾರದೊಡ್ಡಿ ನಾಲೆನಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಕುಡಿಯೋ ನೀರನ್ನ ಸರಬರಾಜು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಇವತ್ತಿಂದಲ್ಲ, ಸುಮಾರು 400-500 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಕ್ರಮ ಅದು, ಅಂದಿನ ಮಹಾರಾಜರು ಮಾಡಿದಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬರ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಚುರಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉದ್ಭವ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಐಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್. ವೆರಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಎಲ್ಲಿನ ಬಂಗಾರದೊಡ್ಡಿ ನಾಲೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿನ ರಂಗನತಿಟ್ಟು, ಎಲ್ಲಿನ ಬರುತ್ತವೆ, ಸಂತಾನೋತ್ಪತ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತವೆ, ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೊರಟು ಬಿಡುತ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ಅಕ್ಟೋಬರ್ ಇಂದ ನವೆಂಬರ್ ಮರಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಮರಗಳ ಮೇಲೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಕ್ರೆಗಳು ಬಂದು ಸಂತಾನೋತ್ಪತ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತವೆ. ಮರಿಗಳನ್ನ ಬಲಿಷ್ಠ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಹಾರಿ ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಅವರ ದೇಶಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಪ್ರಯಾಣ ಮಾಡುತ್ತವೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ರಿಸರ್ವ್. ರಂಗನತಿಟ್ಟು ಇಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಂಗಾರದೊಡ್ಡಿ ನಾಲೆ. ಸೊ ನಂತರ ಬಂದಂತಹ ರಾಜರುಗಳು ಕಟ್ಟಿದಂತಹ ಕನ್ನಂಬಾಡಿ ಕಟ್ಟೆಯಿಂದಾಗಿ ಇಡೀ ಮಂಡ್ಯದ ಚಿತ್ರಣ ಬದಲಾಗಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸಿರಿಧಾನ್ಯ, ಸೋ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಫುಡ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ವಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ಆಂಥ್ರೋಪಾಲಜಿ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸ್ ನ ಶ್ರೀಯುತರ ತಾತನವರು ರಾಗಿ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣಯ್ಯ ಈಗ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಬಹಳ ಅರ್ಥಕೊಂಡಿದೀವಿ. ರಾಗಿ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣಯ್ಯ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರಾಗಿಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರತಿಪಾದಿಸಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬೆಳಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತೇಜನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತಹ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮಹಾನ್ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವ ಅವರು. ಇವತ್ತು ಅವರ ಪ್ರತಿಮೆಯನ್ನ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ವಿವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಥಾಪಿಸಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿರಂತರ ಗೌರವವನ್ನ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ. ರಾಗಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಸೂಪರ್ ಫುಡ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಫಾಕ್ಸ್ ಟೇಲ್ ಮಿಲೆಟ್, ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಾಟ್ ಕೋಡೋ ಮಿಲೆಟ್, ತಕ್ಷಣ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ಬೇರೆ ಏನು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಭೂತಪೂರ್ವವಾದಂತ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯಮಯ ಕೃಷಿ ವಲಯ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದು ಕೇವಲ ಕೆಲವೇ ಬೆಳೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಸೀಮಿತ ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ. ಕಬ್ಬು ಕಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕೂ ಬೇರೆ ಜಾಗದಿಂದ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಮಂಡ್ಯದವರು ಇದ್ದವರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಕಬ್ಬು ಕಡಿಯೋರು ನಮ್ಮವರಲ್ಲ. ದೇ ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ರಾಯಚೂರ್, ದೇ ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಬೆಂಗಾಲ್, ದೇ ಕಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅದರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ. ಗುಳೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಒಂದು ಶೆಡ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಕಬ್ಬು ಕಡಿತಾರೆ. 3 ತಿಂಗಳು 4 ತಿಂಗಳು. ಕಬ್ಬು ವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ಬೆಳೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಭತ್ತ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಮಾಡೋರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟಲ್ ಅಡ್ವೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ನಾನೆಲ್ಲೋ ಸಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ, ಯಾರಿಗೋ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅವ್ರೇನೋ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾದ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನ ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರಾಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. ನಾನು ಸ್ವತಃ ಈ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯವಳೆ. ನನ್ನೂರು ನಾಗರಹೊಳೆ ಕಾಡಂಚಿನ ಗ್ರಾಮ ಇಂಡುಗುಡ್ಲು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಪ್ಪನ ಮನೆ. ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಈ ಜಮೀನಿದೆ, ಗದ್ದೆ ಇದೆ, ತೋಟ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅಧಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಮಳೆಯಾಶ್ರಿತ ಪ್ರದೇಶ ನಮ್ದು. ಹುಣಸೂರು KR ನಗರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ನೀರಾವರಿ ಬಂತು, ಹುಣಸೂರಿಗೆ ನೀರಾವರಿ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ. This is a case study. As an officer, I have seen. As a localite, I have experienced. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟೊಬ್ಯಾಕೋಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಉತ್ತೇಜನವನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ 70ರ ದಶಕಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು. ನಮ್ ಕಡೆ ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎನ್ ಪ್ರಾವರ್ಬ್, ಬಾಯಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಅನ್ನ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅನ್ನ, ರೈಸ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಲಕ್ಸುರಿ, ಹಿಟ್ಟು ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಸ್ಟಾಪಲ್ ಫುಡ್. ಇವತ್ತೇನಾಗಿದೆ, ಅನ್ನ ಕಾಮನ್ ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ, ಹಿಟ್ಟು ಶುಗರ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬಳಸೋ ವಸ್ತು ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ. ಸಿ ದ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ಆರ್ ಡೈಟ್ರಿ ಚೇಂಜ್, ಆರ್ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್. ಇದು ಮೊದಲೆಲ್ಲ ಮುದ್ದೆ ತಿನ್ನೋನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ನು ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಗತಿ ಇಲ್ದೋನಂಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಇವತ್ತು ಮುದ್ದೆ ತಿನ್ನೋರು ಯಾರು? ಅಧಿಕ ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಉಳ್ಳಂತಹ ಅಧಿಕ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತ ವರ್ಗ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಸೂಪರ್ ಫುಡ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ರೆಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಂತಹ ಮಣ್ಣು ಇವತ್ತು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ನೀರಾವರಿಗೆ ಒಳಪಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ TB ಡ್ಯಾಮ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ರಾಯಚೂರಿಗೆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾನ್ವಿ ತಾಲೂಕು ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ರಾಯಚೂರಿನ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ತಾಲೂಕುಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ನಮ್ಮವರೆಲ್ಲ ಮೂಲತಃ ಜಮೀನಿನ ಮಾಲೀಕರೆಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು ಕೂಲಿ ಆಳುಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಜಮೀನಿನ ಮಾಲೀಕತ್ವ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಕೈಲಿ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ನೀವುಗಳು ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತಹ, ನಿರಂತರ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿರೋರಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಸರ್ಕಾರಗಳಿಗೆ, ಕಾನೂನು ಮಾಡುವವರಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಪೂರಕವಾಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಸಮಾಜಕ್ಕೆ, ರೈತರಿಗೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಆಗ್ಲಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮಪ್ಪನೂ ರೈತನೇನೆ. ನೀನ್ ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಜಮೀನಿಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಡ, ನಿಂಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೇನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ನಿಂತು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಕಟ್ಟುಪಾಡು ನಮಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಜನರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾರು ಮಗನೇ ರೈತ ಆಗೋ, ನೀ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದು ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ನನ್ ಜೊತೆ ಬೆಳೆ ಬೆಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಗಳು ನಾನಂತೂ ನೋಡಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪನೂ ನನ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, 4 ಮಕ್ಳು, ನಿಮ್ಗೇನಾದ್ರು ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಿಮ್ ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ಮನ್ಸಿಗೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ವಿ. 7 ಎಕರೆ ಜಮೀನ್ ಇದೆ. ನನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮನು ಕೂಡ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಅವನು ಇನ್ನೂ ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಕೃಷಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಊರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಜಮೀನ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಣ್ಣ ತಮ್ಮಂದಿರು, ಚಿಕ್ಕಪ್ಪ ದೊಡ್ಡಪ್ಪ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ. ರೀತಿಯ ನಾನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ, 2 ದಿವಸ ಬಹಳ ಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಡ್ ಸೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವೆ. ಸೀನಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆ ಮಾಡಿದಂತವ್ರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಭೋಪಾಲ್ನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳೇ ಬೇರೆ. ಡಾರ್ಜಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿನ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನೇ ಬೇರೆ. ನೋಯ್ಡಾ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಬದಲಾಗೋಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯಾ ಬಾಹುಳ್ಯಕ್ಕೂ ಕಾರಣ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ನಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿಯಲ್ ಆಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ ಕೂಡ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನಾನು ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದಷ್ಟೇ, ನೋಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋಗಳು ಬದಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ, ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಪಕ್ಷಗಳ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋಗಳು. ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು, ರೈತರ ಮದುವೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಧನ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೋಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತಹ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ? ಮೂಲಭೂತವಾಗಿ ಕೃಷಿ ಪ್ರಧಾನವಾದ ದೇಶ ಇವತ್ತು ಕೃಷಿಯನ್ನ ಕಡೆಗಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ನಾನೇನು ಹೋಗಿ ಹೊಲ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೀಜ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೃಷಿ ತೆಗೆದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ದ್ವೀಪಗಳಂತೆ ಸಾವಯವ ಕೃಷಿಕರು, ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿ ಬೆಳೆಯುವಂತವ್ರು, ಭೂಮಿ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ವಿಷವನ್ನ ಹಾಕದೇನೆ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾಡುವಂತವ್ರು ನಮ್ಗೊಂದು ದ್ವೀಪಗಳಂತೆ, ಬೆಳಕಿನ ದ್ವೀಪಗಳಂತೆ ಕಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮುಂದಿನ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು, ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಗಳು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಪೂರಕವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಭಾವಿಸಿ ನನಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತಹ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತರಿಗೆ, ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ಹಂಚಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಿವಿಯಾದ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ವಂದನೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್, ಜೈ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ.
Thank you, ma'am. Very question. Sir, whom are the state or the registrar?
No. ನಾವ್ ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್. Hope I didn't disturb your routine.
I now invite Professor Krishna Raj, Center for Economic Studies and Policy, Institute for Social and Economic Change, Bangalore, for the keynote address.
So ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. The chief guest of this function, he was just left the program for the work, Professor Hita Prasadi, the in-charge vice chancellor. The staff, Dr. Sidraju, Professor Ganadhar, all the faculty of Mysore University, research scholars, students, and invited guests. It's a privilege to stand before you to inaugurate and also address the gathering here on an important topic of agricultural reforms, transformation, and rural development in India at the 2-day national seminar organized by the Center for the Department of Anthropology, University of Mysore. I congratulate the organizers for thinking over about so Professor Mustafa reforms and the institutional reforms, etc. So if you look at the so the issues, challenges are many, just like our in India. So they cannot be discussed in one day, and attention, deliberation, transfer is in India is basically a land of agriculture, land of millions.